This video has been made possible by Brilliant, a problem-solving based website and app with a hands-on approach. Improve your STEM skills whilst having a great time learning at brilliant.org/VisualPolitik. More on this in a bit. Incredible, but true. King Bibi is back. Eternal and incombustible. Benjamin Netanyahu has regained his position as Prime Minister of Israel after winning the 1st of November 2022 elections with 23.4% of the vote. For its part, the second main party, Yair Lapid's Yesh Atid party, obtained less than 18%. In any case, these elections were strange. Very strange. The configuration of the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, has undergone important changes, and one of them, perhaps the most notable, has been the rise of the Religious Zionist Party, a coalition of two Orthodox Jewish parties with extreme right-wing political positions. We already told you in a past video, that we'll leave a link for in the description, about how Orthodox Jews have more and more presence at the social, religious, and now political level. And not only that, demographic dynamics indicate that this socio-religious group will grow very rapidly in Israel, gaining more and more influence. And even now, it is already something that is noticeable. The Orthodox Jewish parties have never before achieved so much political power. We're talking about extremist political groups that already hold the key to government in Israel. Although, guess what? Netanyahu doesn't seem to have too much of a problem with that. The man who could be considered the architect of modern Israel has it in his sights to regain command of the helm, at whatever price it takes.
After protracted impasse, progress said made in Netanyahu-Smotrich coalition talks. Talks with Smotrich have been mired in mutual accusations, with Religious Zionism claiming Netanyahu has gone back on promises and Likud accusing the far-right party of making exaggerated demands.
However, this is not good news for anyone. Politics in Israel is consolidating a new phenomenon, practically a new paradigm. Right now, we are witnessing the takeoff of the most radical and traditionalist faction of Judaism. In the latest elections, we are talking about 14 seats and more than 500,000 voters, almost 11% of all votes cast. A result that more than doubles the one obtained in 2021, and that has led them to become the third strongest political party in the country. This is the best result of any religious nationalist party in the entire history of Israel. So with this in mind, the questions seem clear. What is the reason for this rise of the more radical religious and political factions? What is the responsibility of traditional politics? What might this new paradigm mean for Israel? Well, we're going to answer all these questions and many more in this video, but before we continue, whether you're trying to develop your professional skills or broaden your understanding of the world, we recommend checking out today's sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant is a problem-solving based website and app with a hands-on approach. That's a better way to learn. They've got over 70 interactive courses in maths, science, and computer science, and it doesn't matter whether you're a student looking to get ahead or a professional keen on building new skills, you have to check out Brilliant. It's excellent. Many of its courses don't require complex prior knowledge. An example of this is the Scientific Thinking course. You will explore the laws of physics and engineering principles and learn the rules as you play. There will be many surprises along the way. Still, by the end, you will have gained the insight and understanding to see the world differently. Once you have completed the course, you will have enough knowledge to move on to new subjects, such as astrophysics. There's loads of great stuff on their platform, including daily challenges, which are a great way to flex our grey matter every day. So don't wait any longer and let Brilliant help you master even complex technical subjects by clicking the link below. You'll get started for free, and hurry, the first 200 people get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Having said that, let's get back into it.
A right-wing orphan?
Politics in Israel is changing. One could even say that it's in the midst of a regeneration process. Of course, not all regeneration processes are for the better. And take note, because unlike what is happening in other places, in the case of Israel, the emergence of these radical parties has nothing to do with immigration, nor the lack of security, nor with an economic crisis, nor with corruption. Yes, it is true, Netanyahu and his close entourage still have outstanding issues with the justice system, but that did not erode their ability to pull voters in relation to the last election. In fact, although a long way from the results of a few years ago, Likud, Netanyahu's party, has achieved the same percentage of the vote with a higher turnout. That is, Bibi's votes have increased in respect to the 2021 elections. So no, the alleged corruption of more traditional parties doesn't explain why religious extremists have doubled their electoral results in just 1 year. So it's not corruption, nor immigration, nor the economic situation. In fact, you could say that the Israeli economy is going like gangbusters. For 2 decades, the country has maintained solid economic growth. Unemployment is near historic lows, and its technology sector continues to boom. Even inflation, at 5.1%, has not been as out of whack as it has been in most developed countries. On the other hand, if there is one thing that characterizes Israel, it is strict border control, and also a generally high level of internal security. What we can find, however, is an important political fracture in the traditional right. You see, when former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett came to power in 2021, he did so by forming an unusual political alliance, a sort of totem revolutum or Frankenstein coalition of 8 parties, encompassing all kinds of ideologies. An alliance that was born with just a single political objective: to oust Benjamin Netanyahu from power. A Netanyahu at his lowest, who at the time was immersed in several judicial processes for alleged corruption. Proceedings, it must be noted, that are generally being resolved in his favour. Be that as it may, in 2021, Netanyahu attempted to form a government with the Ra'am, an Arab party, and with the Religious Zionist Party's own Orthodox Jews. However, the leader of the latter, Bezalel Smotrich, ruled out the possibility of governing side by side with an Arab party. For them, that was a red line. An impassable limit. And so it was that Naftali Bennett, former ally and chief of staff of Netanyahu himself, managed to become prime minister. The problem is that he did so in a way that, for a good chunk of the Israeli right wing, was a double sin, with the Ra'am Arabs and the Yair Lapid's centre-left Yesh Atid party. The nationalist right, national liberalism, the liberal centre, the Zionist Social Democrats, the Green Left, the Islamists, the anti-Netanyahu alliance brought together 8 parties and coalitions from all across the political spectrum. So it comes as no surprise that not long after that, it would blow up. Yes, in 2021, they ousted Netanyahu from power, but barely a year later, the alliance broke into 1,000 pieces and forced Israelis to return to the polls more annoyed than ever. And to top it all off, this kind of Frankenstein coalition made a large part of the Israeli right wing feel betrayed. Precisely because of this, while Netanyahu's support has remained modest but reasonably solid in the 2022 elections, the other part of the traditional right-wing vote that refuses to vote for Netanyahu has collapsed. We're talking about regular right-wing voters who consider Bibi too pragmatic or tyrannical. The outcome? Well, suddenly, those right-wing voters had only 2 alternatives: to abstain or to vote for the Religious Zionist Party. That is to say, the Orthodox Jews. And that is exactly what happened. This is where a question mark appears that could be very significant for the country in the long term. What could the growth of such a radical party as the Religious Zionist Party imply? What exactly is this party pursuing? Could this political paradigm shift jeopardize some of the achievements made by Israel in recent decades? Well, let's answer all of these questions. Listen up.
High voltage.
Netanyahu's return is not without political risks. One might even say that it could become a charge of dynamism for a country where political instability threatens to surpass even that seen in Italy. Since 2015, Bibi has failed to bring together broad majorities at the ballot box, and has had to move by meandering between increasingly less logical and increasingly radical alliances and agreements in order to retain power. Yes, Netanyahu's political record is replete with great achievements for Israel. However, this latest phase may be totally different. Relying on a formation such as the Religious Zionist Party could be a very negative thing for the country. It could even mean a reversal of Israel's greatest diplomatic success in decades. You don't believe me? Well, take a look.
Emirati Foreign Minister warns against creation of Israeli far-right government. Emirati Foreign Minister warned former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that Emirati-Israeli relations would suffer if far-right Religious Zionist Party leaders like Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich were included in the next government.
But why does this group arouse so many suspicions? What exactly do we mean when we say that it is a radical group? Well, you will see that for the elections and in order to gather votes, they have tried to present themselves as more moderate, but their position has been very clear for years. And the truth is that you only have to listen to or read the words of their leaders. For example, one of the 2 parties that make up the coalition that is the Religious Zionists Party is the Noam, a party whose main obsession above all others is to end LGBT rights and visibility in Israel, in the name of family values, that is. You know, any excuse.
Newly ascendant anti-LGBT MK says he will seek to ban Jerusalem Pride Parade. Noam head Avi Maoz looking for way to outlaw annual march he deems offensive. He also indicated that he would seek to roll back a health ministry ban on so-called conversion therapy, allowing psychological advice for those who don't want to be gay.
Of course, the coalition leader himself is no slouch. Bezalel Smotrich has done things like organising the March of Beasts, an anti-gay march aimed at mocking pride. In it, they paraded donkeys and goats, because according to organisers themselves, and I quote literally, at least animals do not commit any sin. And keep in mind, here we have to remember that Israel is the only place in the Middle East where large pride parties can be held in total freedom, and the only country where same-sex couples are not openly persecuted. But this is just one example of a political formation that, among its top officials, has characters like Itamar Ben-Gvir, a guy who was a member of the fascist Kach Party, an organisation that was deemed a terrorist group by the State of Israel itself, and was banned in 1994. In fact, the army decided not to recruit Ben-Gvir because of his former membership in this organisation. Then another of the major political axes of the Religious Zionist Party is, of course, Palestine. In this case, the party is totally opposed to the construction of any Palestinian state. It is in favour of building more and more settlements, and even annexing the entire West Bank.
We are putting a different alternative on the table, a plan that is not based on the partition of the country, but on its unification. I want to apply Israeli sovereignty throughout Judea and Samaria. Bezalel Smotrich, leader of the Religious Zionist Party.
Of course, annexing Palestine and making the Palestinians some sort of second-tier subjects, as this party proposes, would require the use of force, but they don't appear to have much of a problem with that. They couldn't be any clearer.
If we show an iron fist, there will be no Palestinian children throwing stones. Anyone who throws stones will not be here. What am I going to do? Either I will shoot him, or imprison him, or expel him. Bezalel Smotrich, leader of the Religious Zionist Party.
In fact, this same political leader goes on to advocate such things as separating Jewish mothers from Arab mothers in hospital maternity wards, and openly states that he would never travel abroad for pleasure. As you can imagine, all these things are a danger for Israel. For example, not only do they threaten the normalization of relations with Arab countries, but they would also take us back to the darkest days of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But this party doesn't care about that. After all, in the settlements, they got 22% of the votes during the last elections, more than double the percentage of votes obtained in the whole country. In fact, some of its heavyweights are even in favor of demolishing, or at least changing the status, of the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the Old City of Jerusalem, one of Islam's holiest sites. Unsurprisingly, the party also has a complicated relationship with women who do not want to be subjected to husbands and many institutions of the modern world. Can I give any concrete examples? They don't want women in the military, and they argue that female journalists appearing on television should cover their hair. Well, take note, because now Netanyahu has placed them directly in power.
Netanyahu puts extremist homophobic politician in charge of Israel's Jewish identity. Presumed PM-elect signs coalition deal with Avi Maoz, who holds radical views on non-Orthodox Judaism, LGBT Israelis, Arabs, and women.
Bibi changed Israel for the better. Without looking any further, here on VisualPolitik, we have a video where we count all of his great achievements. However, how far is he now willing to go to stay in office? In this respect, it seems that putting radicals in government who are contrary to the liberal values of modern Israel, which Netanyahu himself promoted, is not an obstacle. And don't forget, we are talking about Israel, a sort of oasis in terms of civil rights and liberties in the Middle East. It's a pity, and perhaps a big mistake, even if Netanyahu does manage to limit the influence of these political players in the negotiations. So basically, this is the political landscape in Israel, one of the most economically successful countries in recent decades. On VisualPolitik, we'll be paying close attention to how events unfold. But for now, it's your turn. Do you think Netanyahu should recognize his attrition and make way for a new leadership on the traditional right? Do you think it is reasonable to bring such radical groups into the government? Leave us your opinion below in the comments. And as always, if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any news. And you can also support us on Patreon using the link in the description. Once again, thank you so much for being there. All the best. See you next time.